After the fantastic success of Final Fantasy VII Remake, can we still hope for a Chrono Trigger remake? Let's find out. What's up, boys and girls? It's your boy GM. I recently finished Final Fantasy VII Remake, and a masterpiece. I really adore this game. Don't worry, I will not spoil anything about it. I did make a video about the review of this game. Post the link down below in the description. Go check it out if you want. We got the remake of Final Fantasy VII. Now, people, more than ever, after 25 years since its original release, people still want the remake of Chrono Trigger. And can we still hope for this miracle to happen after 25 years? Can we still hope for that? I do believe that we can. Back in '95, when Chrono Trigger was released for the first time on the Super Nintendo, this game was ahead of its time, by far. Story-wise, the complexities in it, the dialogues, the chemistry between the characters, what else? Even the graphics were amazing at that time. And the trace it left in video game history. This game was just phenomenal and unique. At that time, we never saw something like that, and it was seriously amazing. Chrono Trigger was the game that made me fall in love with RPG games, because back then I didn't know much about RPG games, but Chrono Trigger was the one that really gave me my first time with an RPG, and my God, I never turned back. It was just phenomenal. The story was just mind-blowing, and people keep on asking for more, even after all this time. And I can say the same thing about Chrono Cross, its sequel. By the way, I know that there was Radical Dreamers between those two. Actually, Chrono Cross was partly meant to be a Radical Dreamer remake, because we see a lot of characters that actually not a lot, but we see some characters in Radical Dreamers that appears in Chrono Cross. But anyways, the two main titles were Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross. And yes, Chrono Cross was also a very interesting and amazing game as well. And really, we got to explore the Chrono Trigger world through through Chrono Cross as well. And even up today, we still have some more we want to know, and remaking Chrono Trigger isn't just about one title, it's about the entire franchise. Square Enix now have the means to make it happen. But I believe that the difficulty about remaking such a classic as Chrono Trigger is gathering the golden team that made this game in the first place. Just for Chrono Trigger, the directors at the time were Takashi Tokita, Yoshinori Kitase, and Akihiko Matsui. But I think that among those three, Takashi Tokita was the key member among those three. Again, I'm not saying that the other two are not important, but I think he's the guy that gets referred a lot regarding the in terms of directors, producers, Kazuhiko Aoki, designer Hironobu Sakaguchi, artists are Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, the writers at the time, Masato Kato, Takashi Tokita, Yoshinori Kitase, and Yuji Ori. Among those four, I can say that the key member of those writers is definitely Masato Kato, and this guy alone, he wrote Chrono Cross. So to me, if they would need to make another Chrono Trigger game or a remake, well, I think at that time it would be a remake. You need that guy. And the composers, the music composers were for the Chrono Trigger game were Yasunori Mitsuda and our very favorite Final Fantasy music composer Nobuo Uematsu. If you think about it, you might not need this entire team to remake such a classic. Because if you think about the artist who was Akira Toriyama back then, if they're gonna make a remake of this classic, that's not very necessary because they're probably gonna redesign the characters in a more modern way. So his style might not be fit for such a project. As for the writers, look, Masato Kato is officially needed. You need that guy to make that happen. To be honest, I think that if a remake of Chrono Trigger were to happen, without Masato Kato, I don't think this project is possible because the guy wrote well in the first in Chrono Trigger, he was one of the 4 writers, and in Chrono Cross, he wrote the whole damn game by himself. So I think that this guy is a key member to make that remake happen. But for the other department, like directors, producers, designers, as much as the old team is important, I believe that finding new talents as well could pull this off. You know, it could happen. I mean, Final Fantasy VII Remake, as much as they had the old team for the project, they brought up some new talents on board for this project. So why not for Chrono Trigger Remake? I believe the big problem about making a remake such as Chrono Trigger is, well, beyond except then gathering the whole team, is also time, because most of these guys that work on Chrono Trigger, they're now in their 50s or 60s, and and also they went their different ways. You know, some people have gone indie, others have joined the Final Fantasy team, and so on. And considering that Final Fantasy VII Remake will take a lot of Square Enix time to produce, I don't believe that they're gonna have a lot of time for anything else. But again, Chrono Trigger is an opportunity once in a lifetime to make a remake. You know, it's possible to come up with something. And let's be honest, after 25 years, fans still are urging Square Enix to make that remake. But you know, if they say no, they say no. But it's still possible. I still believe in that distant dream. Back in January 2008, composer Yasunori Matsuda, he said that there was a lot of politics involved in recreating in such a remake. But he did say that if you needed to make a remake, Masato Kato must be in. Like, if he was asked, he would probably do it. Considering that he was mainly involved in the first 2 games of the series. So, sorry again, my cell phone. So look, it is possible, and I'm not giving up on that dream, but it's just time is a factor. Money is not a factor. Don't like it's a good investment to make a remake. Money is not a factor. It's time and getting the whole crew back together, but also adding new elements to that team. Like, it's possible, but I don't believe it is a lost cause yet because the fan base is still there. I mean, the fan base is still there for Final Fantasy VII Remake, so why not for a Chrono Trigger remake? But again, for Final Fantasy VII, considering it's called Final Fantasy, you know, it helps already. But still, it is still possible for us to have that remake, but Square Enix must give the green light. It could be possible if that were to happen. You know, a lot of companies, you know, big developers companies, you know, they just hire other studios to make those games. But again, for Square Enix, I don't think that they're gonna land the property of Chrono Trigger, one of their iconic titles, to someone else. You know, just like for Final Fantasy VII, like at first it was another studio that was supposed to make the game, but they said no, fuck that. This is gonna be an in-house production. I believe they will act the same for Chrono Trigger. But overall, I am certain that it can happen. But it all depends from Square Enix's point of view. Look, back in 2004, I believe, there was a group called Resurrection Games, and they had started developing a remake of Chrono Trigger that would have been available for the Nintendo 64. And these guys, you know, look, the video is still online. I'm gonna put it in my description. It was to be called Chrono Resurrection, and look, for a bunch of guys, you know, seriously, it was very professional, very ambitious. Even though the thing was canceled by Square Enix, which really sucked, if you ask me. What they release, you know, in videos and all that, you know, gamers websites like One Up or GameSpot, they praise what they did, and also there were many petitions thrown at Square Enix to hire these guys to make that remake, or you know, make the goddamn remake for Christ's sake. But of course, they didn't budge. I think that the Chrono series in general, it is too much of a timeless treasure to just let rot in a corner gathering dust. I still believe that it can happen, but if the team, like if someone at Square Enix have a great idea, story for the project, it could happen. I still believe it can happen, but only the future will tell. So tell me your thoughts about what I just said. Do you still believe that it could happen? If you were in charge of the Chrono Trigger remake, what would you do? So let's talk about it in the comment section, and I'll catch you guys later, alright? So take care of yourselves, wash your hands, don't go out if you don't need to, and stay safe, alright? See ya.